We all know this truth, though we sometimes wish it weren't the case. People will hurt us. It could come from strangers who don't know us at all, or from the people who know us best and therefore know exactly how to wound us. It might be a harsh word, a betrayal, a broken promise, or even neglect when we needed them most. Hurt is a part of life because people are human and humans are flawed. If you walk through life expecting never to be hurt, you set yourself up for constant disappointment. The question is not, will I be hurt? The real question is, what will I do with the hurt when it comes? That's where the difference lies. Hurt is inevitable, but mismanagement of that hurt is optional. And most of the damage we carry isn't from the original wound itself, it's from how we handle it afterward. Think about it, if someone cuts you, the cut may sting, but whether or not it leaves a scar depends on how you treat it. If you keep touching it, pressing on it, opening it up again and again, it's going to leave a mark. In the same way, when someone wrongs you, the moment hurts, but it's the replaying, the dwelling, the obsession, and the reaction that often create long-term pain. Now here's the trap many of us fall into. We think our emotional healing is in their hands. We think, I'll feel better when they apologize. I'll be okay when they admit they were wrong. But you're putting your peace in the hands of someone who already proved they weren't careful with it. Waiting on someone else to fix the damage they caused is like waiting on the person who broke the glass to come and clean it up. They might never come back, and in the meantime, you're the one left walking barefoot over shards. That's why mismanagement is optional. You don't have to stay broken while you wait for them to show up with glue. You have the choice to treat your own wound, to handle your own response, to decide what you do with the hurt. And that choice is where your strength lies. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone insults you publicly. Your instinct might be to clap back, to embarrass them the way they embarrassed you. And in that moment, you might even feel like you won. But what happens later? You replay the moment, you analyze every word. You wonder if others believe the insult, or if your comeback was strong enough. Hours pass, maybe days, and you're still emotionally stuck in that one moment. That's mismanagement. You allowed their words to rent space in your head for far too long. The wound wasn't just the insult, it was you keeping it alive afterward. But what if instead you paused, you acknowledged, that stung, but I don't need to prove myself to them. And then you let it go, choosing silence or a calm response, choosing not to internalize their opinion as truth. Suddenly, the power shifts. They tried to hand you poison and you refused to drink it. That's management. That's wisdom. That's strength. See, managing hurt is not about denying it happened. It's not about pretending it didn't cut you or saying, it doesn't bother me, when in reality it does. Healthy management means you do acknowledge the pain, but you don't give it the power to dictate your future behavior or control your peace. It means you feel the sting, but you don't let the sting become a story that defines who you are. And here's where many of us go wrong. We confuse processing with replaying. Processing is healthy, replaying is destructive. Processing sounds like, that person said something unkind to me. It hurt because I value respect. Next time, I'll protect my boundaries and choose not to engage. Replay sounds like, why would they say that? What did they mean? Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not good enough. I should have said this instead. Everyone probably thinks less of me now. Replay keeps the wound bleeding. Processing allows it to close. When you learn this difference, you step into your power. You stop being controlled by the hurt and start being guided by wisdom. You realize that yes, people will hurt you, but they don't get to decide how long you carry it. They don't get to choose if it defines you. Only you do. And this is where the real freedom is found. When you stop waiting for the world to treat you right in order for you to feel right. Because let's be honest, sometimes the apology never comes. Sometimes the betrayal is never made right. Sometimes the person who hurt you doesn't change. But you can. You can choose not to mismanage that hurt by holding onto it like a treasure. You can choose to release it, to respond differently, to refuse to let someone else's mistake become your permanent burden. So the next time you're hurt, and trust me, there will be a next time, remember this truth: the wound is real, but the scar is optional. The sting might be sharp, but how long it lasts depends on how you handle it. You have the power to respond, to manage, to choose peace even in the middle of pain. Hurt is inevitable, yes, but mismanagement, that part is always up to you. One of the biggest differences between people who stay in control of their lives and people who constantly feel like they're being controlled by others is this: the ability to respond instead of react. The difference may sound small, just two words that almost mean the same thing, but in reality, that difference changes everything about the way we handle hurt, conflict, and disappointment. Think about it. A reaction is instant, impulsive, emotional. It comes from a place of pain, pride, or anger. A response, on the other hand, is thoughtful, intentional, and rooted in self-control. A reaction is often about the other person, what they did, what they said, how much it hurt. A response is about you, who you are, what you stand for, and what kind of person you want to be in the middle of difficulty. When someone insults you, cuts you down, or mistreats you, your body and mind naturally want to fire back. It's survival instinct. You want to defend yourself, prove them wrong, or show them they can't get away with it. But here's the problem. Reaction rarely makes things better. It usually makes them worse. Because when you react impulsively, you hand your power to the very person who just hurt you. They set the tone, and you match it. They yell, you yell. They accuse, you defend. They bring chaos, you bring more chaos. And before long, you're not just hurt by them. You're hurt by yourself, because now you regret the way you handled it. How many times have you walked away from an argument thinking, why did I say that? I wish I had just kept calm. I wish I had just handled it differently. That's the regret of reaction. But when you choose to respond, not react, you create space. Space between their action and your choice. That space is where wisdom lives. That space is where you reclaim control. Picture it this way: someone throws a spark at you. A reaction is like pouring gasoline on it. You explode, and the whole place burns down. A response is like covering it with water. You put it out, you contain it, you make sure it doesn't spread. One burns your peace down with it. The other protects your peace from harm. Here's the truth most people don't want to admit. The way we respond says more about us than about the person who hurt us. We can't control how others treat us, but we absolutely control how we carry ourselves in return. And that's why responding instead of reacting isn't weakness, it's strength. It's proof that you're not controlled by every emotion or every insult thrown your way. It's proof that you know who you are and you refuse to let them drag you into their storm. I'll give you a real example. Imagine a coworker embarrasses you in a meeting. They make a sarcastic comment, something sharp, and everyone laughs. Your immediate reaction might be to clap back with something equally biting. In that moment, you may feel powerful, but later you replay it. You realize you dropped to their level. You realize you gave the office a show, but not the kind of one you're proud of. Now compare that to choosing a response. You pause. You look at them calmly, maybe even smile, and say, interesting perspective. Let's get back to the point. And you move on. Guess who looks small now? Not you. Guess who kept their dignity intact? You. Responding doesn't mean you're a doormat. It doesn't mean you just take abuse or let people walk over you. It means you decide how to deliver your truth with control, not chaos. It means you use your words and your presence in a way that commands respect instead of demanding it. It means you step out of their emotional trap and remind yourself that your peace is too valuable to lose every time someone pokes at you. And here's the key. A reaction is about winning the moment. A response is about winning the bigger picture. You can win an argument and still lose your peace. You can get the last word and still feel empty. But if you respond with self-control, even if you don't win the moment, you win the day. You win your dignity. You win your freedom from being controlled by other people's chaos. Let me put it this way: reaction is instinct, response is choice. And the more you practice choosing response, the more powerful you become. Because you're no longer living as a mirror, simply reflecting back whatever energy people throw at you. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the temperature of the room instead of just reacting to it. That's what leaders do. That's what strong people do. That's what people who are committed to peace do. So the next time someone tries to hurt you with words, before you fire back, pause. Ask yourself, do I want to react to this, or do I want to respond? Do I want to let them control me, or do I want to prove I'm in control of myself? That one moment of pause could be the difference between regret and respect. It could be the difference between carrying anger for hours and walking away with your peace intact. Because at the end of the day, you can't always stop the sparks people throw, but you can always decide whether you'll light yourself on fire with them, or whether you'll rise above. Stay calm and remind yourself that your response is where your true power lies. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all, and that's not weakness, it's wisdom. Because silence, when used with strength, speaks louder than any comeback ever could. When someone tries to hurt you, they're often fishing for a reaction. They want proof that they got under your skin. They want to feel powerful by watching you lose yours. The moment you lash out, you give them exactly what they came for. But when you meet their attack with calm silence, you don't just keep your peace, you take back control of the entire situation. Think about it: if a person throws words at you designed to cut you down and you stay silent, what happens? They don't get the show they were hoping for. They don't get the fire, the argument, the chaos they wanted to create. What they get is a mirror held up to themselves. Because when you don't feed the moment with your energy, all that's left for everyone to see is their behavior, not yours. Your silence becomes a spotlight on their immaturity. We're conditioned to believe that silence equals defeat. Like, if we don't clap back, we somehow lost. But silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. It's you deciding that your peace is more valuable than proving a point. It's you recognizing that not every comment deserves your attention, not every insult deserves an answer, and not every person deserves access to your energy. Silence is not about ignoring people, it's about choosing yourself. Picture this: you're walking down the street, and a stranger starts shouting nonsense at you. Would you stop and argue with them? Most of us wouldn't, because we know it's not worth it. Yet how often do we do the same thing online or in person, letting people who don't even truly know us rent space in our heads? Silence is saying, I don't owe every opinion a response, because you don't. Now, silence with strength is not the same as silence with fear. It's not shrinking back or avoiding conflict because you're scared. It's standing tall, calm, and unbothered, saying more with your composure than you ever could with your words. It's the silence of someone who knows they have nothing to prove. That's why it's powerful. Because it takes more strength to hold your peace than to explode in anger. Anybody can lose control, but not everybody can master it. And here's the truth: silence often disarms people more than anything you could say. When someone attacks and you don't bite, they feel the emptiness of their own words. They realize they can't get to you. And that's frustrating for them, but freeing for you. You didn't let their poison enter your system. You didn't let their chaos become your chaos. You left it right where it belonged, with them. I'll give you an example. Imagine being in a heated argument. Someone keeps pushing, insulting, raising their voice, trying to pull you into the storm. You could yell back. You could match their energy. But what if instead you stayed quiet? You kept your posture calm, your face steady. You let them run out of words while you gave them nothing to feed on. Suddenly the energy shifts, their fire starts dying because it doesn't have oxygen. And when it's over, you walk away knowing you didn't lose yourself just because they lost control of themselves. That is silence with strength. Of course, silence doesn't always mean you'll never speak. Sometimes silence is simply the pause before the right response. Sometimes it's the breath you take to keep yourself from saying something you'll regret. Sometimes silence is the reset button that allows you to choose your words with clarity instead of emotion. And sometimes silence is the whole answer. It says everything that needs to be said. The power of silence also protects you from regrets. How many times have you reacted in anger and later thought, I shouldn't have said that. I made it worse. Silence protects you from that trap. It gives you the power to walk away with dignity, knowing you didn't let someone else drag you down to their level. You may not win the argument in their eyes, but you win your peace, and that's the victory that actually matters. And here's something important. Silence doesn't just protect you in the moment, it builds your reputation over time. People notice when you don't take the bait. They notice when you don't get rattled, when you don't stoop low, when you carry yourself with calm strength. And that reputation, that unshakable presence, goes farther than any clever comeback ever will. So, the next time someone tries to pull you into drama, remember this: you don't have to attend every battle you're invited to. You don't have to respond to every insult. Sometimes the strongest move is to say nothing, stand tall, and let your silence do the talking. Because silence with strength isn't about ignoring others, it's about honoring yourself. It's about protecting your peace and proving, without a single word, that you are stronger than whatever was meant to hurt you. There's a certain strength that comes from words spoken with calm authority, not loud, not aggressive, not sharp, edged, but steady, clear, and firm. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to shout to be heard. Because here's the truth: volume doesn't equal power, and anger doesn't equal respect. The people who are remembered, the people who make an impact, are often those who knew how to use their words with precision and composure, not rage. When someone hurts you, it's natural to want to fight fire with fire. If they shout, you feel like shouting back. If they attack, you feel like defending. But when you match their chaos, you step into their arena, and once you're there, you've already lost control. Calm words, on the other hand, are like a shield. They don't just protect your peace, they remind everyone watching, including the person who hurt you, that you refuse to lower yourself to their level. There's something deeply disarming about a person who can look someone in the eye, even in the middle of conflict, and say firmly but gently, I don't accept being spoken to this way. No raised voice, no insults, just clarity. That moment communicates strength far louder than any insult ever could. It says, I know my worth, and I will not step outside of it just to prove it to you. And let's be real, calm but firm words aren't easy. They take practice, because our emotions want to lead. Our pride wants the last word. But here's what you have to understand: a calm doesn't mean passive. Firm doesn't mean cruel. Calm but firm words are intentional words. They are words chosen not to destroy, but to define, words that create boundaries without creating more damage. Imagine someone criticizing you harshly, trying to tear you down. The reaction might be to fire back, to point out their flaws. But calm authority sounds like, that's your perspective, but it's not one I share. Or, I hear what you're saying, but I won't allow myself to be spoken to that way. Notice the difference. You didn't dodge. You didn't cave. You stood your ground, but you did it without setting yourself on fire. And here's why this works. People expect anger. They expect you to fight back. When you don't, when you keep your composure, it shifts the power. It unsettles them because you didn't give them what they wanted. They were ready for a battle, but you gave them boundaries instead. You stayed calm while they lost control, and the contrast is undeniable. Calm but firm words also protect your reputation. In every conflict, there are usually more eyes on you than you realize. Friends, family, coworkers, they're watching how you handle yourself. And in the end, people may not remember the details of what was said, but they will remember how you carried yourself. When you meet hostility with calm firmness, you leave behind a picture of someone who cannot be rattled, someone who doesn't just demand respect but commands it. Now let's talk about something important. Calm words don't guarantee the other person will suddenly change. They may not back down. They may keep pressing. But the win here isn't changing them. The win is maintaining you. It's walking away without regrets about what you said, without replaying an explosion in your mind. It's knowing that you were true to yourself even if they weren't true to you. And this kind of calm strength builds something inside you over time. The more you practice it, the more you start trusting yourself. You stop feeling like you always need to defend or prove. You start realizing, I can handle tough conversations without losing myself. I can protect my peace without destroying someone else. That's real confidence, not needing to crush others to feel strong, but knowing your words have weight because you use them wisely. Think of it like this: anyone can raise their voice. Anyone can throw insults. That doesn't take skill, it takes impulse. But not everyone can remain steady in the storm, speak with clarity, and hold their boundaries without shaking. That takes discipline. That takes maturity. And that's what makes it powerful. So when you're hurt, when you're pushed, when someone tries to pull you into their chaos, pause, breathe, and then speak with calm authority. Maybe it's as simple as, I'm not okay with this. Maybe it's, we're not going to continue this conversation if it stays disrespectful. Or maybe it's, I choose not to engage in this kind of negativity. Short, clear, firm, and calm. What you'll find is that calm firmness doesn't just silence others. It strengthens you. It reminds you that you're not controlled by emotion, that you don't need to scream to be strong, and that you can stand your ground without stepping out of character. That's real power, because the world is full of loud voices, but very few steady ones. Be the steady one. And the next time someone tries to cut you down, remember this: the strength of your words doesn't come from how loud they are. It comes from how true, how clear, and how firm they are, spoken with a calm that shows you are in control of yourself, no matter what storm is raging around you. One of the most powerful responses you can ever give to someone who hurts you is to set boundaries. Not walls, not weapons, but boundaries. Boundaries don't shut people out. They teach people how to treat you. They don't scream for attention. They quietly and firmly redirect it. And the beauty of boundaries is that they're not about controlling someone else. They're about protecting yourself. When someone disrespects you, when they speak to you harshly, when they take advantage of your kindness, it's easy to think the only options are either to lash back or to stay silent and take it. But there's a third way you set the standard. You calmly show them where the line is, and you make it clear what happens if that line is crossed. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. And clarity is kindness to yourself and even to them. Think of it this way: a boundary is like the fence around your home. You don't build it to attack your neighbors. You don't build it because you hate the world. You build it because you value what's inside. You build it because peace, safety, and respect matter to you. And the moment someone tries to step across it without permission, you don't burn the house down. You simply remind them where the fence is. Now, people who hurt you may resist your boundaries at first. Why? Because boundaries feel uncomfortable to people who benefited from you not having any. If someone is used to snapping at you and seeing you fold, they'll push harder when you finally say, I won't accept being spoken to like that. If someone is used to you always saying yes, they won't like hearing no. But here's the truth: you don't set boundaries to please them. You set boundaries to protect you. And protecting your peace is not selfish, it's necessary. Let's make this real. Imagine a family member who constantly criticizes you. Every gathering, every conversation, it's negativity. The easy reaction would be to argue back or to walk away fuming. But boundaries sound like, I want to have a good relationship with you, but I won't stay in conversations where I'm being put down. If it continues, I'll excuse myself. Notice that. You didn't attack them. You didn't lower yourself. You stated the boundary and the consequence calmly and clearly. That's redirection, that's strength. Or take the workplace. Maybe a coworker constantly dumps their responsibilities on you, assuming you'll pick up the slack. The boundary could be, I can help you occasionally, but I won't be able to take this on. It's your responsibility. Firm, clear, respectful. And most importantly, it redirects the weight back where it belongs. The real power of boundaries is that they shift the focus from the person who hurt you back onto yourself. You stop waiting for them to change, and you start choosing how you'll allow yourself to be treated. You stop asking, why are they like this? And you start asking, what am I going to do when they are like this? That shift puts the control back in your hands. And boundaries aren't just about keeping people out. They're about letting the right people in. When you set a boundary, you're not saying, I don't want connection. You're saying, I want healthy connection. Because without boundaries, relationships become draining. With boundaries, relationships become balanced. And the truth is, the people who genuinely care about you will respect your boundaries. They may not always like them at first, but they'll respect them. The ones who don't respect them, they reveal themselves by how they respond. Now, I know what some people think, but if I set boundaries, won't people think I'm harsh? Won't they walk away? And maybe some will, but if someone walks away because you refuse to be mistreated, what exactly did you lose? You didn't lose a real connection. You lost a situation where you were being diminished. That's not a loss, that's freedom. The truth is, boundaries are not about pushing people away. They're about bringing peace closer. They're about saying, I value myself enough to not settle for less than respect. I value my time, my energy, my peace enough to guard them carefully. And when you start living that way, something changes inside you. You feel lighter, you feel stronger, you feel less like a victim of other people's choices and more like the author of your own life. Because here's the reality: hurt is going to happen. People are going to test you. But you don't have to stay open to every storm that passes through. You don't have to let every word, every insult, every demand enter your life unchecked. You can build the gate. You can decide what gets in and what stays out. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. So the next time someone tries to cross a line with you, don't meet them with rage. Don't meet them with silence alone. Meet them with boundaries. Calmly, firmly, clearly. Let them know, this is what I will allow and this is what I won't. You don't need to argue. You don't need to convince, you just need to stand. Because the moment you set a boundary, you remind yourself and everyone else your peace is value, and it is not up for negotiation. There's a point you reach after the hurt, after the boundaries, after the silence, after all the words have been said, where you realize something powerful. The greatest freedom doesn't come from proving someone wrong or even from getting an apology. It comes from letting go. Letting go of the bitterness. Letting go of the replay. Letting go of the need for closure that may never come. That is where peace is found. That is where freedom begins. Holding on to hurt feels natural at first. It feels like justice. If I stay angry, if I stay bitter, maybe it protects me, maybe it reminds me not to trust again, maybe it punishes them in my mind. But the truth is, holding on doesn't punish them, it punishes you. They may move on with their life while you're still chained to the memory. They may forget the words they spoke while you're still carrying them like weights in your chest. And all the while, you think you're protecting yourself, but you're really poisoning yourself. Letting go is not forgetting what happened. It's not excusing it. It's not saying, it didn't matter. It didn't hurt. Letting go is acknowledging, yes, it happened. Yes, it hurt. But I refuse to carry this any further. It's choosing to release the grip, because the more tightly you hold on, the more it drags you down. Think about carrying a heavy bag everywhere you go. At first, maybe you don't notice. But over time, it wears you out. Your shoulders ache, your back hurts, your energy drops. That's what holding on to resentment does. You don't feel it in one day, but over months, years, it drains your joy, it robs your energy, it steals moments of peace you should have had. And when you finally set that bag down, you wonder why you didn't do it sooner. That's the weight of hurt. That's the power of letting go. Now, some people will say, but if I let go, doesn't that mean they got away with it? No. Letting go doesn't mean they won. Letting go means they no longer get to win every day after the moment they hurt you. Because every time you replay the moment, they win again. Every time you let anger consume you, they win again. Letting go is how you take that victory back. It's saying, you may have hurt me then, but you don't get to keep hurting me now. And yes, it's hard. Especially when the hurt comes from people you trusted, people you loved, people who should have been there for you. The pain feels deeper because it wasn't just about what they did. It was about who they were supposed to be. But even then, freedom still lies in letting go. Because carrying that anger doesn't rebuild the trust. It doesn't heal the wound. It doesn't make the past different. It only keeps you stuck there. Here's something powerful to remember. Letting go is not about them. It's about you. They don't even have to know you let it go. They don't have to apologize first. They don't have to change first. Letting go is your decision, your act of strength, your declaration that your peace matters more than your pain. Because peace is not given, it's chosen. And the only way to step into it fully is to release what no longer serves you. I'll give you an example. Imagine two people wrong you. One apologizes sincerely, the other never does. Which one do you hold on to longer? Usually the one who never apologized. You replay it, you think about what you would say if you ever got the chance. But here's the thing, closure isn't always about their apology. Sometimes closure is you deciding, I will not let this leaven me anymore. That's how you get free. And freedom through letting go doesn't mean you'll never remember. Memories come back, the sting comes back. But when you've let go, the memory no longer controls you. You can look at it and say, that was part of my past, but it doesn't own my future. You carry the lesson without carrying the weight. You walk lighter, taller, freer. Letting go also opens up space. When you're full of anger, bitterness, resentment, there's no room for joy, no room for growth, no room for love. But the moment you release what hurt you, you create space for what heals you. You create space for better relationships, better opportunities, better peace of mind. And sometimes, that's the very thing that transforms your life. Not adding more, but letting go of what's been holding you down. So here's the truth. The final and greatest response to people who hurt you isn't silence, isn't words, isn't even boundaries. It's letting go. Because in letting go, you stop giving them power. You stop handing them pieces of your life they don't deserve. You stop living in the prison of pain and you step into the freedom of peace. It won't happen overnight. Some wounds take time. Some days you'll feel like you've let go, and then the memory comes back strong. That's okay. Letting go is not a single moment. It's a choice you make over and over until the weight finally disappears. But every time you choose it, you get stronger. Every time you choose it, you get lighter. And one day you'll wake up and realize the grip is gone. You're free. Because in the end, freedom doesn't come from holding on tighter. It comes from releasing. It comes from remembering that the past is unchangeable, but the future is still yours. And no matter who hurt you, no matter what they did, you deserve that freedom. You deserve that peace. And you can choose it today by letting go. So here's where it all comes together. People will hurt you. That's not a possibility, it's a certainty. But your response, that's where your power lies. You can choose to recognize the hurt without letting it define you. You can choose to set boundaries without carrying bitterness. You can choose silence when words would only add fuel. You can choose to speak with strength instead of rage. You can choose to focus forward, not backward. And ultimately, you can choose to let go. Because real freedom isn't about winning an argument or getting an apology or proving a point. Real freedom is peace. And that peace is yours. It doesn't depend on what they do or don't do. It doesn't depend on the past being rewritten. It depends on you right here, right now, making the decision that you will not live chained to pain any longer. You'll take the lessons, but not the weight. You'll carry the wisdom, but not the wound. And in doing that, you rise above the hurt, you reclaim your strength, and you step into the kind of life where no one, not even those who hurt you, gets to decide your peace. That's the response. That's the victory. That's the power you hold.